All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever had that feeling, that sinking frustration? You've got the high level English certificate, you've put in the years, but the second you step into a real, fast moving business meeting with native speakers, you feel completely left behind. Well, you're not alone. And I'm here to tell you it's not your fault. Today, we're going to figure out exactly why that happens and lay out a totally new game plan for success. I mean, this is the big question, right? You've aced the tests, you know your grammar inside and out, but when that conversation starts picking up speed, it feels like you're trying to catch a bullet train on foot. It's because the skills that get you that perfect score are just not the skills you need to survive in that kind of environment. So let's start by digging into the real root of the problem. I like to call it the fluency illusion. It's that belief that if you could just get your grammar perfect or your vocabulary bigger, you'd magically succeed. But we're about to tear that myth apart, because the game you're playing in a real meeting is a whole different sport than the one you play on an exam. And you can really see the massive disconnect right here. Look, on one side, you've got the exams. They test your accuracy, your structure, you got time to think. But on the other side, a real meeting. It's all about real-time processing, split-second reactions, and jumping from topic to topic based on all this unspoken shared context. It's like you've trained your whole life for a marathon, and then you show up and they tell you you're driving in a Formula One race. The training just doesn't line up with the real event. Now, this gets to the very core of what's happening inside your head. For someone who grew up with English, it acts like their brain's operating system. It's automatic, it's instant, but for most of us who learn later in life, English is more like an app running on top of our native language. So every single thing you hear has to be translated, processed, and then your response has to be translated back out. That creates this huge cognitive load and an unavoidable delay. It's not about being smart or working hard, it's just about the cognitive architecture. So how big is this gap we're talking about? Let's try to put a number on it. If having a high-level certification puts you at an English ability of, say, 10, the level needed to process everything like a native speaker is more like 100. That's not just a few steps up, it's a whole other league. And once you see that, you realize why just doing more grammar drills is a losing strategy. Okay, so if chasing that 100 is a trap, then what's the answer? This is where we need a complete shift, a totally new strategic mindset. It's time to stop trying to play the native speaker's game and start designing a new game, one where you set the rules and you can actually win. And here it is. This is the new formula, the core idea for today. Real success in a global business setting is not about having a perfect accent. It's about a powerful mix of three things: what you know about your field, your domain knowledge, your ability to actually steer the conversation, and the human connections you build. Let's break down each of these new weapons. So our first weapon, and honestly the most important one, is your domain knowledge. This isn't just a piece of the puzzle, it is your single greatest asset. It's the rock-solid foundation for everything else. We have to completely reframe what a business meeting is. Seriously, it's not an English class. It's a high-speed data transfer between specialists. The real language being spoken in that room isn't English. It's the language of finance, or engineering, or marketing. If you don't speak that language, it doesn't matter if you're a native English speaker. You'll be totally lost. Think about it. Your expertise is what earns you respect and gives you a seat at the table in the first place. Especially in Western business culture, what you know is valued way more than how perfectly you say it. Your knowledge is the value. The language? That's just the delivery truck. Okay, let's move on to our second weapon, conversation control. This is all about getting out of the passenger seat. Stop trying to keep up and start grabbing the steering wheel. So how do you actually do that? Well, there are three key moves. First, you declare your status right up front. And this is not an apology. It's a strategic move to control the pace. Second, you make yourself the summarizer. You become the one who recaps what's being said, which puts you at the center of the conversation. And third, you use simple, direct language on purpose. Your goal is perfect clarity, not a perfect sentence. This phrase right here, this is a total power move. You're not saying, "I'm sorry, I don't get it." No. You're saying, for the benefit of everyone here, I am going to take control, slow things down, and make sure we are all on the same page. See? It turns a supposed weakness into a position of leadership. And that brings us to the third part of our strategy, building real human connections. This is the stuff that happens in the spaces around the actual meeting. But timing is absolutely everything. Trying to talk about your favorite movie in the middle of a deep dive on quarterly earnings, that's just going to be awkward. But those moments before the meeting starts, or over coffee, or at lunch,
that's the perfect time to build that rapport. It's a low-risk, super high-reward way to build those critical relationships.
All right, the theory sounds good, but let's see what it looks like when the rubber meets the road. We're going to walk through a quick scenario with a professional named Yamada, who uses all three of these weapons perfectly. So the meeting hasn't even started, and look, Yamada makes his opening move. He's not apologizing. He's setting the rules of the game for the entire meeting, right from the get-go. And the key here is he's just signaled to all the native speakers that they might need to slow down and be a bit clearer. He's already managing the flow of the conversation before it can even get away from him. It's proactive, not reactive. Okay, now fast forward. The native speakers are going back and forth fast, getting super technical. Does Yamada panic? Nope. He calmly steps in. He doesn't say, "I'm lost." He says, "Let me summarize." And this move is just brilliant. By becoming the summarizer, he hits the brakes on that chaotic, high-speed exchange and forces everyone else to shift to his organized, logical way of thinking. He's no longer just a participant. He's just become the facilitator. So let's break it down. You can see every piece of our strategy right here in action. He declared his status at the beginning, he spoke with deep expertise on the technical stuff, he controlled the conversation by jumping in to summarize, and he used simple, clear language to get his complex ideas across without any confusion. It's a masterclass. So what does this all mean for you and where you spend your time? Well, think of it like an investment portfolio. You've got to reallocate your resources. Instead of sinking 80% of your energy into trying to perfect your pronunciation, you need to flip that model. Put 60% of your effort into getting even better at your job, your domain knowledge. Put 30% into practicing these conversation control tactics. And that last 10%, yeah, that's for polishing fluency. And that really brings us to the final and most powerful takeaway. It's time to change the goal entirely. Stop chasing this impossible dream of sounding like a native speaker. The real win is when you use your expertise and your strategic communication to create a situation where your value is so obvious and your structure is so clear that the native speakers naturally start to adapt to your style. That, right there, is how you win the game.